Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen zu unserem Webinar US Midwest, Chancen, Trends und Herausforderungen. Mein Name ist Elizabeth Chapsky und ich bin Business Relationship Managerin am Außenwirtschaftsbüro Chicago. In unserem heutigen Webinar werfen wir einen genaueren Blick auf den Mittleren Westen der USA, insbesondere darauf, warum diese industrielle Kernregion so attraktiv für Investitionen ist und weshalb sie sich besonders gut für österreichische Produktionsunternehmen eignet. Als gebürtige Midwesterner freue ich mich sehr, heute noch mehr über meine Heimatregion zu erfahren. Zunächst wird Ihnen der stellvertretende Wirtschaftsdelegierte Lukas Zitz einen Überblick über den US-Markt und die transatlantischen Wirtschaftsbeziehungen zwischen den USA und Österreich geben. Anschließend hören wir spannende Beiträge von unseren heutigen Sprechern, Paulina San Millan, Rome Rauter und Norbert Ponweiser. Noch ein paar organisatorische Hinweise. Nach den Präsentationen haben wir eine interaktive Fragerunde eingeplant. Wir laden Sie herzlich ein, diese Gelegenheit zu nutzen und unseren Experten ihre Fragen zu stellen. Während der Präsentation sind alle Teilnehmenden stumm geschaltet, aber wenn Sie eine Frage haben, schreiben Sie bitte Ihren Namen und Ihr Unternehmen in den Chat und sobald wir zur Fragerunde übergehen, werden wir Sie freischalten, damit Sie Ihre Frage direkt stellen können. Lukas, das Wort gehört dir.
Vielen Dank, Elisabeth. Und schönen Nachmittag nach Österreich. Mein Name ist Lukas Zitz und ich freue mich, dass wir heute den Mittleren Westen näher beleuchten können. Ich übernehme jetzt kurz die Steuerung von der Präsentation. Ich werde ganz kurz darauf eingehen, was unsere österreichischen Firmen in den USA machen, was besonders im Mittleren Westen interessant ist und freue mich dann auf die Beiträge unserer Sprecher. Der Mittlere Westen, hier einmal kurz aufgezeigt, welche Bundesstaaten es umfasst und wie groß diese Region ist. Tatsächlich ist es eine Region, in der österreichische Firmen historisch schon sehr lange aktiv sind und sehr erfolgreich aktiv sind. Und man sieht, dass es wirklich auch eine geografisch große Region ist, was man nicht unterschätzen darf bei der Auswahl der konkreten Orte, an denen man sich eher überlegen sollte, mit einem österreichischen Unternehmen in den Markt einzutreten. Dabei sind wir natürlich gerne behilflich. Grundsätzlich die Beziehungen zwischen den USA und Europa sind riesengroß. Es ist eine der größten oder die größte Handelsbeziehung der Welt, wo 1,2 Billionen US-Dollar im Handel bewegt werden und auch über 25 Millionen Arbeitsplätze von diesem Handelsabkommen, also dieser Handelsvereinbarung profitieren. Interessante Wachstumssektoren sind die Bereiche elektronische Komponenten, industrielle Ausrüstung und die Automobilzuliefererindustrie. Das sind alles Bereiche, in denen unsere österreichischen Firmen sehr erfolgreich jetzt schon in den USA aktiv sind und ich hoffe, dass noch viele weitere dazukommen. Eine kurze Grafik, die auch aufzeigt, unsere Investitionen österreichischer Firmen in den USA sind konstant am Wachsen. Das liegt an vielen Gründen, die wir dann im weiteren Verlauf des Webinars noch näher diskutieren werden. Und man sieht auch hier auf der Karte noch einmal ganz genau, in welcher Region oder welche Regionen von österreichischen Firmen stark bespielt werden. Das ist besonders stark die Ostküste und der Mittlere Westen und der Südosten. Das heißt, das Webinar heute, bei dem wir uns eben mit dem Mittleren Westen beschäftigen, ist eine der Kernregionen, in der ein sehr großer Teil unserer Firmen erfolgreich ist. Grundsätzlich sagen wir, dass rund 950 österreichische Firmen Niederlassungen in den USA haben und fast ein Drittel davon oder rund ein Drittel auch Produktionsstätten. Auch das Exportvolumen österreichischer Firmen in die USA ist über die letzten Jahre konstant gestiegen und gepaart mit den Investitionen sieht man einfach, dass es hier großes Interesse gibt und auch Nachfrage nach österreichischen Qualitätsprodukten. Warum sind unsere Firmen in den USA und natürlich auch im Mittleren Osten besonders erfolgreich? Das ist, weil wir uns sehr oft mit unseren Firmen auf bestimmte Nischen fokussieren, anstatt Massenmärkte zu bespielen. Nischen, in denen oft wenige Konkurrenten eine gleiche oder ähnliche Qualität überhaupt anbieten können. Dadurch ist auch die Nachfrage der Kunden, der amerikanischen Kunden, größer, weil es eine stärkere eben Spezialisierung, weil es diese starke Spezialisierung gibt und man deswegen auch gewillt ist, höhere Preise zu bezahlen. Zusätzlich punkten unsere österreichischen Firmen sehr stark mit der Serviceorientierung, wenn es zum Beispiel dabei darum geht, Maschinen zu servicieren oder im After-Sale Kunden zu betreuen. Da ist die Qualität, die aus Österreich kommt, immer wieder also ein Grund dafür, wieso man langfristig gerne mit unseren Firmen zusammenarbeitet. Und generell natürlich das starke Qualitätsversprechen als USP. Die Herausforderungen am US-Markt sind definitiv ein großer Preiswettbewerb und hohe Marktdynamik, dessen muss man sich bewusst sein. Aktuell gibt es auch eine unsichere Situation aufgrund von Handelsbarrieren, die sich aber langfristig aus unserer Sicht wieder einpendeln wird. Es gibt hohe Markteintrittskosten bei hohen Renditen. Was bedeutet das? Wenn man in den US-Markt einsteigen möchte, zum Beispiel zum Start mit Exporten, dann ist es oft so, dass man hier einen Vertreter anstellen muss, der den lokalen Markt kennt. Und der ist natürlich auch marktüblich zu vergüten. Und die Gehälter, die man für Vertreter am US-Markt bezahlt, sind in der Regel durchaus bedeutend höher als in Österreich. Allerdings stehen dem gegenüber auch sehr gute, also Umsatzpotenziale und höhere Renditen als im europäischen Markt. Und eine weitere Herausforderung sind natürlich amerikanische Firmen, sofern es sie in der spezifischen Branche oder Nische gibt, die bereits seit langem am US-Markt aktiv sind. Wir haben, um auch einmal das Stimmungsbild von österreichischen Firmen einzuholen, vor kurzem mit einem österreichischen Kunststoffunternehmen gesprochen. Das ist ein Feedback oder ein Feedback, das ich gerne mit den Teilnehmern teilen möchte. Das Unternehmen sagt, der US-Markt ist zu einem ganz wichtigen Bestandteil des Geschäfts geworden. Etwa 20% des Gesamtumsatzes werden bereits in den Vereinigten Staaten erwirtschaftet. Das ist oft ein Phänomen. Österreichische Firmen treten in den Markt ein, lernen amerikanische Kunden kennen, die hoch fasziniert sind von ihren Produkten und die dann gerne und viel von dem Produkt kaufen, was dann dazu führt, dass es sein kann, dass die amerikanischen Kunden oft zu den größten Kunden österreichischer Unternehmen werden. Aktuell ist es so, dass Importpflichten und Frachttarife sich auf die Wettbewerbsfähigkeit auswirken. Das ist eine Herausforderung, mit der man arbeiten muss und der man sich bewusst sein muss, ja, laut diesem österreichischen Unternehmen. Und die Entwicklungen zeigen aber eben deutlich, dass eine stärkere physische Präsenz in den USA, wie zum Beispiel lokale Logistik, technische Unterstützung vor Ort oder strategische Partnerschaften nicht nur wünschenswert, sondern langfristig unerlässlich sind, um das Geschäftspotenzial zu nutzen. Das heißt, der Versuch, hier mit nur sehr wenig Kapital und Zeiteinsatz im US-Markt erfolgreich zu sein, ist etwas, was wir öfters bei Firmen beobachten, was in der Regel aber nicht zum Erfolg führt. Es braucht ein größeres Zeit- und auch finanzielles Commitment im US-Markt aufgrund der Größe des Marktes, aufgrund der Distanz und auch der unterschiedlichen Gegebenheiten zum europäischen Markt. Damit bin ich schon am Ende unseres kurzen Einblicks aus dem Außenwirtschaftscenter New York. Ich habe hier noch einmal unsere Veranstaltungen aufgelistet, insbesondere interessant für alle Firmen, die den US-Markteinstieg planen. Im Oktober findet unser nächstes Bootcamp statt in Chicago, ein einwöchiger Workshop für österreichische Firmen, die den Markteintritt planen und sich mit Experten aus erster Hand eine Woche lang dazu vor Ort in Chicago austauschen möchten. Insbesondere geht es dabei um die Themen rechtliches, steuerliche Themen, kulturelle Unterschiede und die richtige Vermarktung des Produkts. Eine Veranstaltung, die ich jedem Unternehmen wirklich ans Herz legen kann, die bis dato noch wenig Berührungspunkte mit den USA hat und eine gute Übersicht in kompakter Form bekommen möchte. In dieser Woche findet auch unser Nationalfeiertagsempfang statt. Wenn man sich als Firma dort präsentieren möchte, bieten wir auch Möglichkeiten zum Sponsoring dieser Veranstaltung an. Alle weiteren Informationen dazu finden Sie über den QR-Code, den wir in der Präsentation hier auch eingeblendet haben, beziehungsweise können Sie uns jederzeit auch gerne eine E-Mail schreiben. Vielen Dank und Damit übergebe ich das Wort wieder und freue mich auf die Beiträge unserer Speaker aus dem Mittleren Westen.
Vielen Dank, Lukas. Now we'll switch to English, and I invite Paulina to share your screen.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to speak. Okay, I represent Intersect Illinois. So Intersect Illinois is a statewide organization. We focus on business and recruitment of businesses to the state of Illinois. All our services are free of charge. And how we help companies is we help them find a site, either office space, greenfield site, or existing manufacturing building. We connect them to local level, we connect them to the state level, and we connect them to potential suppliers and clients. And we put a designated project manager whenever a company is interested in looking at Illinois for an existing, for expanding their operations. That project manager will be holding your hand from beginning to end of the process to make sure that you are successful in locating with Illinois. But also we want to make sure that, after you have taken the decision to locate to Illinois, you are also successful when running your operations. So that's the reason we make sure that we create a supporting partnership all around you and supporting partners at the local level and state level to make sure they hold your hand throughout the process. So I'm going to tell you a little bit why the reasons of Illinois is usually a good place to invest. We get 40% of our projects come from foreign companies. And, foreign companies take a look at different reasons why they decide to put their operations in Illinois. We are the #1 state in the Midwest for new business creation, and #2 in the entire country, in the entire US, for companies that are taking a decision to relocate or expand operations. Chicago MSA has been #1 metro area for several years in a row in terms of where companies decide to, move their operations. We are a top state for investment on tech innovation and access to capital, and also top state for investment in infrastructure and education. We are very strong in infrastructure and education, and I'll show you in the next slide, in a few more slides. However, we know that not because we're strong on these areas right now means we should just, not do anything about it. We keep investing in these two areas to make sure that we keep leading in workforce and infrastructure. We are the 5th highest GDP in the US, and if we would be our own country, we would be the 18th largest economy. So we would be before the Netherlands and Saudi Arabia, just to give you an idea. So for this reason and many others, several top companies have decided to locate in Illinois. We have several Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies. We also have several foreign companies. So we have over 2,000 foreign companies that have decided to put their headquarters in Illinois. A little bit more in terms of foreign investment. The reason these companies have decided also to locate in Illinois is there is an ecosystem of assets that can support them. So we have 8 foreign trade zones. We have over 80 foreign consulates in Illinois. And we also have at the level the Office of Trade and Investment that has regional offices all around the world. In terms of our relationship with Austria, so we have 35 Austrian companies that have 73 locations in Illinois, and they are creating 2,500 jobs in the state that we are thankful for and, happy to support it. Here you can see on the left some of the Austrian companies that have a location in Illinois, and then, vice versa, some of the top Illinois companies that have a location in Austria. So in terms of manufacturing, what is Chicago MSA's hub for manufacturing talent? We are the #2 hub in the entire US and #1 in terms of expertise talent. So we're talking more about first line supervisors. We are top state also in terms of the number of manufacturing establishments in the state. For highest manufacturing GRP in the US, the manufacturing sector is our strongest sector. Illinois is a very diverse economy as a state. However, manufacturing is still a leading sector for us. You can see here on the right some of the top companies that we have in the state manufacturing, but of course these are not all. And we also have several organizations that support innovation and a startup ecosystem in Illinois for manufacturing. So Argo National Laboratories are receiving money from the Department of Energy. So they focus a lot on sustainability. They focus a little bit of quantum and on electric vehicle batteries, as well as hydrogen batteries. We have the Illinois Manufacturing Association that pretty much represents all manufacturers in Illinois, and their job is to lobby for manufacturers for the state to make sure that we keep improving our legislatures and our laws to favor manufacturers. We have MHub. They focus more on startups. So it's located in Chicago, and they have a kind of an incubator space for startups, as well as different workshops. And then MXD that focus in innovation and manufacturing, kind of the cross section. So some areas of manufacturing that we excel, as you can see before, and I'm going to go back to the last slide, you can see we have Caterpillar. We still have some of the, we have John Deere, still have some of the Boeing manufacturing and other industries in aerospace and defense. These industries, of course, need a lot of metals. We are a strong supplier of metal manufacturing. So here you can compare Chicago to even other states as a whole. And really the supply chain, not only in Illinois, but in the Midwest region is very strong. So that is the reason some companies decide to locate in Illinois, where part of their manufacturing process involves metals. In terms of clean energy, this is an industry that the governor of Illinois is strongly supporting and incentivizing. We have a special incentive for any companies that are in the clean energy sector. These are companies in the electric vehicle manufacturing industry. So you don't need to be an electric vehicle, but if you manufacture to that industry in some way, shape, or form, you would qualify for the incentive. We just changed legislation to make sure hybrid, automotive, and anyone in their supply chain would also qualify for this incentive. It also applies to hydrogen production. It applies to solar production, not only production, but the manufacturing part of it as well. It applies to green steel, and anything considered green steel would apply. And anything that would be considered clean energy, small nuclear reactors, nuclear generation would be considered on this incentive. The reason for that is the governor signed a plan called Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, CEJA. The goal is to go 100% carbon free by 2050. So we're making sure that not only, we're incentivizing the companies that are in the clean energy industry, but closing and defacing the coal plants and the gas plants, and also making sure we're incentivizing electric vehicle adopters and companies in the industry. Another kind of related industry to manufacturing that could be part of manufacturing sometimes is food processing. We have a very strong industry in food processing. Here you can see that our food processing supply chain is even better than California and Texas, that are humongous states. And California is very well known for their farms. However, when you take a look at Illinois and the supply chain and the companies from soy and corn, kind of the raw products, but also for transformative companies. It is all in the network of Illinois and in the area. We're also, in terms of food, we're also very strong in what is corporate R&D. So, a lot of companies decide to locate in Illinois to make sure they are in the forefront from research and development in the food industry and overall in the manufacturing industry as well. And so I did talk a little bit about infrastructure. That is, I would say, workforce is number one reason why companies locate in Illinois. Number two reason is our infrastructure and logistics. So we have, from air, which is O'Hare Airport, that has the most foreign nonstop flights in the US. That is very attractive for companies that are going to be back and forth from other countries, making sure that they don't have a layover and, going to another place. And it is just a nonstop flight from their country and city where they live. It is also attractive to have airports like this and be in the middle of the country for companies that want to go to a meeting to New York and be back the same day, or to be able to go to California, but don't have to, take 1 or 2 days to go to California. So it is kind of very geographically distinctive that way. Besides that, we are the only state that has all 6 Class 1 railroads. Class 1 railroads are moving materials. So, anything on your supply chain, and are the main railroads in the country. Most of them have a strong coverage, either north to south or east to west. So we are the only state that intersects all railroads, and they intersect in Illinois into sections, which makes companies save money in terms of transporting their product. In fact, one of every 3 products that are transported via rail in the US comes to Chicago area at some point, 1 of every 3. So if you think about that, then companies are like, why am I located anywhere else if the product is going to have to pass Chicago at some point either way? We also have waterways, which, when companies need to transport anything via barge, they are able to do that, where barge goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, coming from the Great Lakes, from, Canada. So Canadian companies use it a lot, and then go all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. And then the third largest highway system. So on the next slide, I'll show you. We do have here in a 2-day truck delivery, you are covering 83% of the US populations, but you are also covering parts of Canada and Mexico, and 3-day truck delivery, you are covering the entire US and Canada and Mexico. Am I doing okay on time? Just checking.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay, just a few more slides. So another area where companies decide to locate in Illinois, we are the state with the most nuclear plants. We export right now electricity, so we generate more electricity than what we need. So we export to New York and other states that need electricity, but we're not only exporting, we're also growing our portfolio as we shut down coal plants. We are growing our solar, our wind. We are really exploring small nuclear reactors and any other ways to make sure that we stay affordable. Our electric provider in the northern part of Illinois is the #1 in reliability across the entire country. And finally, welcoming state in terms of we are used to having, as you saw our map with all the flags, people from all rounds the world, all types of languages and ethnicities are welcome here. And what we offer is a place where we have top sports, arts, culture, top restaurants, state parks. So really, whatever you like, you will find it in Illinois. Besides that, we are one of the most affordable top tier cities in Chicago. So if you compare us to California and New York, we offer the same, but in a more affordable way, which makes a good path if you're locating, employees here. You want to make sure that they are able to afford a house and that they are able to have a good educational system and healthcare system. And with that, that is it. Looking forward to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paulina. Rome, I invite you to share your screen as well.
Sounds good. Just testing again if everyone can hear me. I had some internet issues today, so I had to run down to a cafe, but I think we're up and running, so.
We can hear you.
Awesome. Everyone able to see my screen?
Yep.
Sounds good. Yeah, I can agree with Paulina. I used to live in Chicago myself. Love that city. Great place to be. Although today I'll be talking about Wisconsin, which is my hometown, or my home state, I should say. So hi, everybody. My name is Rome Rauter. I'm International Market Development Director, based in Hamburg, Germany, actually. Although, as I mentioned, born and raised Wisconsinite. I've also lived 2 different times in Austria, both in Linz and in Vienna. And I find that there's a lot of great similarities in the 2 regions. And so therefore, I'm really excited to be here today and talk with all of you. First and foremost, just a little bit on WEDC, similar to as Paulina mentioned about Intersect Illinois, we're public-private entity or sort of a state organization. I would say we take the role of the Wirtschaftsministerium and the sort of economic development agency all in one. And we're a pretty integrated team. And as a smaller state, it's really easy for us to work with our universities, counties, et cetera, in a similar fashion to Intersect Illinois. So today I'm going to talk with you guys about location a little bit, and then Austria, Wisconsin, some challenges, workforce, business climate, and key industries. But I really want to make it as sort of broadly Midwest and also just challenges as possible, so we can hopefully have some great questions afterwards. A little bit on Wisconsin, because I know most people maybe don't know where it is. Of course, we just talked about Illinois. So just moving north across the border, you get to Wisconsin, which is not too far away. I think a great way to think about Wisconsin is a place a lot of people in Illinois, I would say, tend to go for vacation, but it's also more than that to us as well. So interestingly enough, 85% of the state is actually bordered by fresh water. You wouldn't think, but you've got the Mississippi River to one side and Great Lakes above and below. A couple overviews of Milwaukee, our largest city, just north of Chicago, about an hour and a half. Madison's our capital. That's where primarily our university city. And then moving on here, while we're still talking about location, I'd like to touch on the first challenge that we see for manufacturers in the United States, especially when deciding where to locate. And that tends to be climate resiliency. So this next slide I'm going to show you, it might look a little silly. I personally think it's a little silly, but I think there is some merit behind it, right? So of course it looks like, great, the Midwest is the best place to be. But there is some truth behind this fact that places like Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Minnesota, there's a lot of climate resiliency there, especially looking into the future for manufacturing facilities. And it's not a surprise to those of us who live in the Great Lakes, as we start seeing the region called more and more of a climate haven as weather patterns sort of drive people to migrate away from the instability of the South. So that's important for us. And just to drive that point home, for validation, the National Centers for Environmental Information, they've noted that the 42-year average in the United States used to be $8 billion in climate-related events to businesses. And just in the last 5 years, that's jumped to $18 billion. So something to consider when looking at the U.S. in the future. Now, zooming out a little more fun, just briefly on Wisconsin and Austria. So I think Paulina might have mentioned around 35 companies. We're about half that, about 18 operations in Wisconsin, Andritz, First, some of the classic big companies, but there's a lot of great overlap, I would say, especially our advanced manufacturing sectors are very similar. I think we have a very similar type of Mittelstand company, a lot of similarities in metal processing and fabrication, even down to our universities. I know work very closely with like the Linz Center for Mechatronics, because there's some really great overlap. Also life sciences, pharma, digital health, also some really great overlap with Austria. And we have a lot of companies that we work with, especially in the Vienna area around digital health and pharma. So it's a really nice relationship. And beyond that, our governor actually spent a year in Graz as well when he was younger. So there's a lot of great relationships. Finally, I'd mention Kohler. Kohler is one of our largest companies, which you may have heard of. The picture there in the middle, Kohler actually was founded by an Austrian immigrant who then became mayor of Sheboygan, which is one of our cities. So very present in our state and something that we take very seriously at WDC as well. Moving forward here, talking a little bit more about challenges in the Midwest, generally with manufacturing. So first one being energy costs and regulation. I think this is something that, as Paulina mentioned, thankfully is maybe not as big of an issue currently in the Midwest as it would be in Central Europe, of course, with our energy prices being generally that lower. Relating to bureaucracy, I would say it's also very low, especially in our state. Permitting is extremely fast, but that will vary from state to state, so keep that in mind. In terms of global uncertainty and tariffs, something we try to mitigate with a lot of the ports and free trade zones. That's something that we work with at our agency. Probably do the same thing in Illinois. And then finally, labor and supply chain, which I'll talk about next a little bit. So getting into some numbers on skilled labor. So you see we're a little bit smaller of a state, 6 million, but a very, very well-educated state. So we have over 500,000 university graduates every year. Many are not, from or not in Wisconsin, with a handful of 4-year schools, 2-year schools, and of course, our technical colleges. And our state is very well known for technical college, being that Wisconsin was the first state to develop the technical college system and still has the top ranked technical college systems. One being Kenosha, Gates, actually that very bottom, one of those very bottom points there. So, and it's something that's continuously growing. So 92% of tech grads also choose to stay in the state after working, of technical college grads. So that's something that we find manufacturers seeking and something that we're able to provide across the Midwest. Zooming out in the Midwest, I would say the Great Lakes really are an epicenter of engineering education. You can see from this number, I mean, these are all, large universities in the Midwest, and you can see the total number of engineering grads coming out of the school each year, or coming out of the region each year is quite impressive. So definitely a great place to be. A little bit more about Wisconsin before I move on. Something that we are very focused on is being a state for manufacturers. We have one of the lowest, if not maybe the lowest, manufacturing tax rate at 0.4%. Really strong pension system. We have a budget surplus in our state. We do not, and we have great long-term fiscal stability. So that's something that's very unique to Wisconsin and North Dakota. It's something that we take very seriously for our businesses as well. One other note I'd like to mention quickly is on clean energy. So I think a lot of states in the Midwest, you'll start to see this, that there are ways to help if you're looking to settle or do M&A, but at existing facility, there's lots of programs to help you cut carbon emissions and focus on energy. And that's very important at our state as well. Wisconsin was created Earth Day actually in the 1970s, and it's always something that's very, very important to the state. Today, so I'll kind of skip over the other ones. But for us, you'll start to see a theme here. I think if you saw a presentation from every state in the Midwest, you'd find something similar, that there's a lot of manufacturing workforce in the area. In terms of manufacturing workforce concentration, second in the US, 16% of Wisconsin manufacturers or Wisconsin employees are in manufacturing, which for the US is quite high. I know for Central Europe, that doesn't seem maybe as high. I know sometimes certain regions are 20, 30% plus. But for us, over 9,000 manufacturing companies, almost 500,000 industry employment. When you think that we are, that starts to become pretty impressive. So companies like Rockwell Automation, Kohler, Plexus, Harley-Davidson, which many of you know. Yeah, and there's a number of things. I think I already mentioned metal fabrication. That's a big one. Paper printing, electrical equipment, plastics, things that actually do tend to fit really well with regions of Austria, especially I would say upper and maybe Steiermark. And manufacturing employment concentration. Just another graph, but I can of course send this afterwards, and I need to focus on it. But really, all of our industries across the board focus on manufacturing, and there's manufacturing woven throughout them. Food and beverage being a big one for us, and the rest of the Midwest. Life sciences as well. Most of the life science manufacturing takes place in the Midwest, which I know folks usually think of like a Boston or a Silicon Valley, but a lot of it is done in the Midwest. Energy, power, and controls is another big one. Johnson Controls being headquartered, Generac, Rockwell. These are all companies that I know also have a presence in Austria. And finally, water technology. Wisconsin is the state leading, or the leading state for water technology. And then finally, just a little on supply chain, as you saw, I think from Illinois and us in Indiana as well, Ohio, you can see that there's a lot of components being manufactured. There's a lot of opportunities to localize your supply chain, which is something that a lot of companies are looking at upon entry. Can they find someone similar to the home market, etc.? So things to keep in mind. And I think I'm already getting close to the end of my time, so I'll finish up real quick. And I want to just quickly touch on centers of excellence because we're really proud of this one. A lot of centers of excellence for our industries, particularly for manufacturing. The biggest one, the note I put this slide in this morning before my internet went out, that we have the world's first AI co-innovation lab in manufacturing. Microsoft put $3.3 billion into University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee area to scale up and train about 100,000 workers in manufacturing and on generative AI by 2030, and hopefully help 270 companies by then. So you can just see the importance Microsoft knows as well of the region in manufacturing, and that's something that we are very excited about, something that we'll continue to look at in the future. And yeah, with that, I think I'm already about in on my time, so I'll skip ahead and just say thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to chatting after this.
Thanks so much, Rome. And now we'll hear from an Austrian company succeeding in the Midwest. So I'd like to give the stage to Norbert.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Can you all hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you about Anton Parr's success story here in the American Midwest. My name is Norbert Ponweiser. I'm a sales manager with Anton Parr USA, and I'm based in the Midwest in the northern suburbs of Chicago in our central office. Anton Parr has been active in the United States for several years already, actually decades. And its Midwest success story reached its high point with the opening of our brand new office in April 2025. That's the building you can see here. The new facility spans about 24,000 square feet or 2,200 square meters, and is entirely dedicated to supporting our customers in the region. So with state-of-the-art laboratory space, modern seminar facilities, and comprehensive service infrastructure, all under one roof. So we do not do manufacturing here, but we support manufacturing industry in the Midwest. So our customers are here. The big question for us is now, how do we get here? And in order to set the stage for that, please allow me to give you a brief introduction into the company Anton Parr, how we work and why the Midwest became so attractive for us. Anton Parr GmbH is a measurement technology company founded back in 1922 and is still headquartered in Graz, Austria. What began as a small locksmith workshop has grown into a global leader in scientific measuring instruments. So we develop and produce and sell high-tech instrumentation precision equipment for a wide range of applications, serving both industry and research. The company offers a wide range of product solutions and technologies. Altogether, we have 17 different product lines, most of them developed in-house. Some of them are acquired through strategic acquisitions over the years. The largest acquisition that we had so far was Bedeutung GmbH. It's a German company that joined us in August 2023. And you can see it represented in the last but one line, kneading and extrusion technology. This acquisition has turned out to be very critical for our success here in the Midwest, and I want to speak more about this a bit later. A very unique characteristic of Anton Parr is also its owner structure. So we are owned by a charitable foundation, which allows us to think very long-term oriented. And basically the company cannot be sold, which allows us also to think a bit beyond the next quarter and quarterly results. But chances are you've never heard of Anton Parr, and that's because mostly we operate within the business-to-business world behind the scenes, but you have certainly heard and benefited from some of the products that we help ensure its quality from. So bottom line, you cannot drink any Coke or a major brand beer anywhere on the planet without being tested with Anton Parr equipment. So you all tasted the fruit of our labor, but not heard of the company in most cases. Anton Parr today employs about 4,200 people worldwide. and has 8 production companies, 2 of which are in the US, I'll show in a second, 39 sales subsidiaries, and distribution partners in many, many different countries. So this international structure ensures that our customers, whether they're in Graz, Chicago, or Johannesburg, receive the same high level of service, technical expertise, and support they can expect from Anton Paar. So Anton Paar in the US has been established in 1986. We are headquartered in Ashland, Virginia, which is a small town about 2 hours drive south of Washington, D.C. The region there is home to several excellent universities, which is great for recruiting. But we have had some challenges with filling some of the positions, especially in our service department. And that basically gave rise to a very known approach, a known program from Austria, the apprenticeship program. And since we in the Midwest have benefited from that also quite a bit, please allow me to say a few words about that. So the concept is simple and powerful. So we identify high school students who are close to graduating and bring them on board part-time, so about 8 hours per week in their final year. And once they start college, the working hour increases to about 16 hours or more per week. So what makes this model particularly attractive for the students is they earn a 2 years associate's degree, and Anton Paar covers the full cost of their tuition, which is quite a cost factor in the US, I have to admit. After 3 years in the program, those who successfully complete start working full-time for Anton Paar, mostly in the service department, but also in other departments, depending on their skills and interests. But the program not only gives us a pipeline of well-trained, loyal employees, it also reflects our commitment to people development and something that is very close to our Austrian way of thinking. So we have had 12 students that successfully completed the program, 10 of which are still employed with Anton Paar. We won some awards, and we are very proud of the outcome of this. Most recently, 2 of the graduates actually moved to the Midwest, to our office here, one in the field service team, one in the in-house service team. So we also see that this program not only works in finding the right people, but also supports the mobility within the US locations of Anton Paar. Let's take a closer look on the presence of Anton Paar in the US. We have 6 locations, 2 production companies here in black. They have come to us via acquisitions, and 4 sales and service locations. The headquarters is in Virginia, and then 1 in Houston, Texas, 1 in Torrance, a suburb of LA, and now here in Vernon Hills in the Midwest. The Midwest office is basically centered right in Illinois, right at the heart of the Midwest. I have to say, different to the map that Lucas showed earlier, for us the Midwest also includes the states Kentucky and Tennessee, which are traditionally not considered part of the Midwest, but it made sense for us to get organized in this way and fashion. But what's so special for us in the Midwest, and why are we here and why are we so successful? When people in and outside the US think about the Midwest, certain pictures come to mind. You might think about small towns, you might think about farmland and dairy production, kind of traditional rural America that we see in the movies. But you also might think about Detroit, the once beating heart of the US manufacturing and part of now what's known as the Rust Belt. But then we also have cultural icons like the Kentucky Derby or the country music in Tennessee. So all these are part of the picture, all this is part of the Midwest. But when I want you to think about the Midwest, I want to tell a story about innovation, about investment, strategic opportunities. And that's exactly why Anton Paar came in. I want you to think about Chicago, the 3rd largest city in the US, right after New York and LA. And it's a vibrant metropolitan hub full of potential customers, business partners, and of course, trained employees. Think about the many top-tier universities that we have in the US. As we mentioned already, Purdue University, University of Wisconsin-Madison, University of Illinois in Chicago, and the Urbana-Champaign, just to name a few. Every year, those universities produce thousands and thousands of bright, motivated graduates eager to take on their first professional challenge. And we are happy to welcome them to Anton Paar. Let's not forget the polymer industry in Ohio, life science industry in Illinois and Indiana, and then of course still the strong automotive sector in Michigan. So there are plenty of good reasons to come to the US, but what are those reasons specifically for Anton Paar? For us, the first and foremost reason was location. Central location being right in the heartbeat was very, very important for us. Initially, we were only serving our customers from our headquarters in Virginia, which is in a different time zone. So being close to our customers, being in the same time zone makes really a huge difference. Today, we have a lot of in-house service capabilities, and being able to react close in very short notice to our customer demands and being close to them is critical. But we also saw that we had already a lot of business going on in the Midwest. So the region was already a big contributor to our success in the US, but we knew that there was more. And we were right, actually. Once we began to focus on the region, more and more opportunities started to appear, and the acquisition of Brabender, the company I mentioned earlier in my presentation, has proven to be especially important for us. This company is very active in polymer industry and in the food industry. So we are right here in the Midwest. We have a polymer hub in Ohio, and we have a lot of food production in all over the Midwest, from Wisconsin down to Kentucky. Another factor that we have was cost of living. I think it was mentioned earlier. Compared to other hubs in the US, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, even Chicago offers a very reasonable cost of living situation. So it's very important for hiring talent, for keeping talent, to be able to offer that. Skilled workforce is very important for us. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of universities here, which are a hub for us to recruit from. And we've been very lucky to put together a great team here in the Midwest. Let's not forget that the Chicago area is also very, very important for other hires outside the Midwest to move to. So we've seen 2 of our apprentices moving here. Lots of our other colleagues now moved from outside and are excited to be part of the Midwest culture and living in Chicago here. So having a stable and committed team is very, very important for us. As I said earlier, we are owned by a charitable foundation. We are very long-term oriented, and having people in our team that share the same mindset, that are rooted in a certain area and want to contribute there, is very, very important. So this brings me to the end, and just want to share some figures about our success. So we've grown the team in the Midwest in a couple of years, almost doubled from 32 to 55 people, sales, service, and administration, plus 77% revenue in the last couple of years, which is for us way above the national average for us. And we have great team spirit and a lot of excitement for our future. So that's what we are very proud to have put together here with our Midwestern team. With that, I come to an end, and I'm looking forward to any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Norbert. Now we'd like to open up the floor to questions. I'd like to start actually with a question that I have posing to all of our speakers here. I know you mentioned a few different challenges that companies, especially foreign companies, are facing in the US or in the Midwest in general. What would you say is the #1 challenge that companies are navigating right now, and how are they solving it?
Okay, if no one says anything, I'm going to get started. I guess a big challenge for us is, like for everyone, the uncertainties that are currently looming over our heads in terms of tariff situations and others. How to solve this is basically keep a cool head. It's always don't freak out, just take a step back and see how you've tackled the situation, that everything will work out. We've been in the US for many, many years. We've seen many, many crises in the US. We've weathered them all. you adjust, you move on. That's also something which I really want to encourage people, especially from Austria, to embrace the American way of thinking. Is like you tackle a challenge, just figure out how to solve it.
Yeah, I second that. I haven't seen too many foreign companies considering the US bring up tariffs, but we are seeing existing companies in Illinois being affected by tariffs. What I heard from a company that we met at Telog USA that it's a foreign direct investment conference was like, we're thinking long term. Whatever happens in 2 to 3 years, is, we're thinking what is our long-term strategy, because if we make an investment decision, it's going to be for the next 30 years or for life. So making sure when you're considering locations in the US, not getting swayed by your short-term uncertainty, but really taking a look at, this is going to be a facility for you for your life. So what is really what you need as a company?
And I would just round out the trifecta, I think, with a longer existing one, but definitely continue to be workforce. It's something that we continue to work on with companies across the Midwest. But I think I seem that a lot of our European investors, particularly in Central Europe, particularly Austria, don't have that much of an issue once they get embedded in the community, because a lot of the Midwest really is community oriented. And then once you're located in a place, and you're usually offering things that maybe other American companies aren't. And it comes pretty quickly between that and technical colleges and the education. I know Norbert also mentioned, you make that happen. So
Great, thank you so much. If you have any questions out there in the audience, please write in the chat and we will unmute you. Let's see. Well,
So
I'll help.
Go
ahead.
If we are waiting for questions, I have a question that is, I think, going to be very interesting for the entire audience. And I apologize to our speakers, but I would like to go back to German for that, making it a bit of a German lesson for you. Norbert,
ja.
Ein kleiner Überfall auf dich. Es wäre sehr spannend, glaube ich, auch zu hören für alle Teilnehmer. Was ist deine persönliche Erfahrung gewesen, in die USA zu gehen als Mitarbeiter eines aufstrebenden und erfolgreichen österreichischen Unternehmens? Kannst du uns dazu etwas erzählen?
Sehr gerne. Ja, ich bin in den USA seit 2015, bin mit der Firma Anton Paar schon seit 2012, war kurz in Graz und dann für 2 Jahre in unserer Niederlassung in Großbritannien, ein bisschen nördlich von London. Ich wollte immer im Ausland arbeiten und das mit einer Firma wie Anton Paar zu tun, hat sich als extrem positiv erwiesen. Ich bin nach Virginia gezogen im Jahr 2015, habe über Virginia eigentlich nichts gewusst, bin mit offenen Armen willkommen geheißen worden und habe mich dort sehr, sehr wohl gefühlt. Also Virginia war das Einzige, was ich dort nicht so toll gefunden habe, war das Wetter, was das der Grund war, warum ich nach Chicago gezogen bin, muss ich sagen. Und es war einfach, wenn man sich einlässt auf die Kultur, wenn man offen ist, wenn man versucht, die Vorurteile, die man möglicherweise im Kopf hat, über Bord zu werfen, dann hat man eine sehr, sehr gute Zeit. Also das Interessanteste für mich war, ich hatte immer das Bild von den USA, also als ein Monoblock und das ist die USA. Aber die USA sind riesig groß und die regionalen Unterschiede in Landschaft, in Mindset, in Kultur, in Sprache teilweise, in Akzenten, sind wirklich, wirklich groß und da muss man sich wirklich darauf einlassen. Sobald Leute hören, dass man aus Österreich ist, sieht man dieses Leuchten in den Augen. Yeah, I have ancestors from Germany, from Austria. Also dann hat man sofort was, wo man reden kann mit den Leuten und da ist gleich eine Verbindung da. So prinzipiell gesehen für mich eine extrem positive Erfahrung, wenn man sich darauf einlässt. Das muss ich auch dazu sagen.
Vielen Dank, sehr spannend.
Ich würde auch gar nicht was hinzufügen. Ich glaube, generell, wenn man nach Chicago oder Wisconsin oder wo auch immer, ist es auch wirklich einfach, andere Leute zu finden, die auch vielleicht Experts sind oder auch irgendwo echt in Community einzutauchen. Man kann einfach sich selbst entscheiden, ob man will, weil eben in Milwaukee, nicht so große Stadt, also hat 500.000 Leute, aber es gibt natürlich, keine Ahnung, hunderte von Leuten, die aus Mitteleuropa kommen. Also es gibt immer was für jeder, denke ich. Also.
Sehr beeindruckend, Rob. Was ist dein deutschsprachiger Hintergrund?
Ich glaube, fast wie jeder, wie was Norbert erwähnt, also es gibt viele Leute im Mittleren Westen, die alle also eine deutschsprachige Herkunft irgendwie haben. Also bei mir ist es ähnlich.
I'll jump in then if there's no other questions from our participants. I'm curious if there are specific characteristics that a company would need to be the most successful in either the Midwest or the US in general.
I'll take the lead again. I think one of our contributors earlier mentioned it. I think it might have been Lucas. You need to think long term. You cannot just say, hey, I'm going to the US and next year is going to be great. It might be, but you really need to plan a bit more long term. You need to make the commitment and think it through. Preparation is very important, but then you have people like the speakers earlier who can help you with this organization. But I feel like you need to understand what you're getting into, and you cannot expect it to be an instant success. Long term, it will almost guaranteed be success, but you need to be in there for the long run, I have to say.
I would say connect and network with the community that I know it was mentioned before. So really the Midwest is open. I'm from Mexico City, was a New Mexico worker and came here just for informational interviews, sent my resume to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And the director of economic development ended up asking me if we could just meet for coffee and brainstorm. So right away I was connected, with higher level. It feels sometimes like, the Chicago area is a large city. However, it's very easy to navigate. Everyone's very close. I joked with a company yesterday that, usually it's, around 6 degrees of separation. But in the Midwest, it's more like 3. And then if you meet our president and CEO and our board member that know everyone in Illinois, then you're like at 1 degree of separation because they'll connect you to everyone you need to do business with. So just make sure don't take it like, oh, I'm here in my business and I'm by myself. Make sure you connect and partner. And, there's a lot of resources for you, and that's what's going to make you successful.
Yeah, nothing to add on my end. That was well said.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. If there are no further questions, then I will thank you again for participating, especially to our speakers for your very informative presentations. And I invite you to join us in Chicago in October for our boot camp. And yeah, thank you again. And I wish you all a great evening or rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.